I was just checking to see if you were in there. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to work on, I'm going to do a little bit of teaching tonight as opposed to working on the car. Okay, just checking. Normally I have something to say, that's what I was asking. So we're going to do some teaching tonight, and several months ago, see, you did it. Several months ago, this blue Mustang came in, and we did an inspection on it. Some of you guys remember that inspection.
Yes, very well, yes.
Right? It came in because the guy would crank and crank and crank and crank and crank, and then eventually would start. And it didn't make any difference if it had been a week or 2 or 3 hours. It was crank and crank and crank to start. It was just really hard starting. Now, you turn the key and it starts. And there's a reason for that. The one thing, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, the one thing that has the greatest potential for problems and at the same time the greatest potential for a happy driving experience on vintage vehicles is the carburetor. So we're going to spend, I happen to have a couple of carburetors here, and we're going to take them apart and we're going to look at them and we're going to try and figure out what's going on in them so that we have a better understanding of what is, in all honesty, an analog computer that uses a vacuum signal for its calculations. It's a very complex instrument that is at the same time very simple, and we'll figure out the different circuits that are in there, the choke circuit, the idle circuit, the main circuit, the power circuit, the accelerator pump circuit. We've got 5 circuits working here, and we'll look at all of those, and we'll have fun doing it. Ready? All right, so I got to get some screwdrivers.
All right. Stop lying, Sherman. That is not the world's greatest.
The world's greatest paint.
That would be a quadrijet.
No, that's definitely not the world's greatest carburetor.
All right, the Quadrijet's not a bad car.
It's not bad, but it ain't great. I like my double pumper Holly.
Any progress?
Why am I putting the...
2 carburetors. 2 carburetors.
Little parts.
Okay.
You're not the count, though. You're the...
The Countess?
I was going to say
So,
the cunt, but...
The Countess.
Yes, this is you. Woo, carbonators.
The same, don't they? They have some differences here and there, but they look more or less the same. That's because of the same series of carburetors. That's an Autolite 2100?
Yep.
It's Autolite 2100.
They're both 2100s, but they are from different years.
Not very,
Not very
significant.
far.
There's only 4 years separating the 2 carburetors. What I would like
But-
you guys to do is pick up the carburetors, examine them carefully, and tell me what the single biggest difference is. If you were to slap this on a car, what's the single biggest difference between the 2 carburetors?
It's got the vacuum port there.
That's got the vacuum port for the power steer or the power brakes.
This thing.
That's a dash pot for your. It's actually a choke pull down.
There's not
That one's
one
on
on
this
this
side.
side.
Yeah, those are differences. Those aren't going to significantly impact the performance of the carburetor on the car. There is one difference that will.
Is one flip out? On the whole.
Nope. Oh, that's a good one. Flip them over again. Flip them over again.
How do we go?
They're both
All right, so you want to know nomenclature on their carburetors. No, flip it over. I want to see the underside. There you go.
There we are.
All right, so how many big round holes are in this? 2 big round holes. Big round holes.
Small.
Big round holes.
Look at you.
Okay,
Does that make it a
that's a 2 barrel.
Oh, flip out has 4?
That's cool.
Those are bigger. It's not just camera angle.
Exactly.
Ooh, look at that.
I know how to take a picture. This one looks bigger. Thank you. Yes.
I mean, that's what it seems like the big difference is you got
The size of it.
bigger ports,
Cookie
right?
bigger than the
Gas
Signal on top.
Definitely a different CFM rating.
Let's
The
look
bigger one will flow more air.
More air?
He knows where that
This
one's
is a
flowing.
GM
That
4Jet.
looks like a real one.
Oh, shush. That's a GM 4Jet, which is an adaptation or a copy of a Carter WCFB, which stands for William Carter 4 Barrel. And an AFB is an aluminum 4 barrel.
That's what the A was.
Dun dun dun!
It's
So-
amazing. It's absolute. I'm telling you, I am gobsmacked by that information. Anyway,
You're thinking the size of the holes. This was larger. That's the difference between the two.
that is exactly right. We have a winner. This,
Yay!
this
It's here.
is the carburetor off of that Mustang. The engine displacement is 289 cubic inches. This is off that green station wagon, Sally's Vera, which happens to be a 400 cubic inch engine. This is rated at 350 cubic feet per minute at 3.5 inches of mercury. This is rated at 500 cubic feet per minute at 3.5 inches of mercury. A what?
What engine's in that wagon?
400.
400. Oh, it's a 2-barrel. Oh.
Well, they put the same carburetor on a 429.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
2-barrel.
429 2-barrel. That was an option in 1971. So they look the same, and you know, from a manufacturing perspective, there's interchangeability, but the actual carb body in this case is this section. This is a one-piece carb body. This one you can see is a two-piece. The throttle body is cast iron on this carburetor, and then the center section is hot metal or white metal or zinc. Hot metal, by the way, when they make stuff in the factory and they have waste metal that isn't ferrous, non-ferrous metal, they throw it in the smelter or the pot, and that's why it's called hot metal. It's just a generic metal. Okay. Any questions so far? Any burning questions?
So they've been like standard carburetors for those motors, or
These are standard carburetors.
and
These
you
are,
get optionalized to 4 barrels if you want.
you could. We're using these because they happen to be available. We're not going to take this one apart because I don't want to give Mark a heart attack.
Well, that's up
So
to
we're
you.
just setting this over here
Is that the
for
Buick? That's the
That's
Buick?
Mark.
purposes of illustration.
That's up there.
Okay, so this is the Buick carburetor. This is a GM 4Jet. Actually, it's an early 4Jet because the later ones have 4 of the vent tubes.
Yep.
Now, those
And they
will
come in
use
at an
that
angle.
same 4 barrels.
Yes. They also used, and it's really fascinating, there was interchangeability between the carburetors. They also used the WCFB. And what's funny is the WCFB and the 4Jet both have these little bleeder screws. Where you can, not bleeder, but it's like a sight screw. Pop that and look in there and see what the float level is. That's what that's looking for. They have those on non-OEM Holly carburetors. The aftermarket Hollies are like that too. So typically, usually, hopefully, if your car has a carburetor on it, it still has one of these. This is critical. This is the most important thing on this carburetor if you're in the business of rebuilding or you want to get a replacement, because that tells you precisely how that carburetor was calibrated. Each carburetor is calibrated to a specific engine. Each carburetor. And there, you can take a generic carburetor and you can put it on, and they'll work okay. But we were trying to optimize, or the manufacturers are trying to optimize the operation of their engines. So they would calibrate the carburetor and make sure that it was the best possible combination of performance and economy possible. You can still make carburetors work better, but that's a topic for another day.
So for the same engine, would the carburetors be different? Like the adjustments different? That's why there's a tag?
It depends. That's a good question. It depends. And where it depends is whether in some cases, like in the 70s, if the car was sold in California, its settings would be different because it was for a different emissions calibration. So that would be different. The other area where they'll be different is based on whether it's a performance engine or not. The camshaft will have an impact on the lift and drive. I should see who that is. I
Handle
think
that.
it's Sally and she's calling.
They would tweak them so minorly throughout.